My name is Craig Nash, and I'd like to welcome you to another It's a Grand Life. And I think if you've been following our podcast, you found out a couple months ago that I've been made part of a group called Generations United, which is a national grandparent and kinship caregivers advocacy group out of Washington, D.C. So I've become a grand voice here in the state of Michigan. But the amazing thing about Generations United is that they have some fantastic information for those of us in grand families. And I just wanted to make you aware of this. We're going to try and make this grand family fact sheet available on our Facebook page. If you're not a member of that, you need to go to Facebook and look up It's a Grand Life, and you'll see our logo there. And we try to put some worthwhile information up there for you regarding any of the subject matter that we share with you on It's a Grand Life. And but this is a very interesting piece of information, and it looks kind of like this. It's called a fact sheet, and it's I don't know if I certainly wasn't aware of this, but I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there are over 2.6 million children being raised by grandparents or other relatives or close family friends that do not have a parent living in the household. So that would mean that there are at least 2.6 million grandparents living the grand life, raising our grandkids and trying to provide for them. And this wonderful organization out of Washington, D.C., partnered with another group called Grand Families and Kinship Support Network. And what they're trying to do is put all this information and all these resources and other information that you would want to know, where you might be able to go and get some support for you and your situation. So imagine you're a child, and in the middle of the night, your mom drops you off at grandma's house to live. Your mom and dad can't care for you anymore. Their opiate and alcohol use have made it impossible for them to parent. You're glad to be with your grandma, but because it feels safe and comfortable at her house, but you're worried about some things. Where are you going to go to school? And then how will you get your asthma medicine? Can your grandma get it for you? Will it be okay with your mom or dad? Will they be okay? But parental substance abuse is just one of the many reasons grandparents and kinship families come together. Grand families and kinship families are families in which children reside with or are being raised by grandparents, other relatives, and other adults with who they have a close family relationship, such as godparents or family friends. They're all part of the grand family network. Other reasons grand families and kinship families form include parental military deployment. You know, if mom or dad's overseas with the military, they need someone to take care of them. Incarceration, mental or physical illness, and death. Whatever the cause, when parents are unable to care for their children, these caregivers often step in at a moment's notice to keep families together. Children and grand families and kinship families, according to the folks at Generations United, have unique strengths and face unique challenges. Unlike parents, these caregivers do not have inherent legal rights and responsibilities with respect to the children they raise. So this is very important. They often take informal responsibility for children and suddenly have no time to plan for financial, housing, or other needs. And this is a very serious issue. As I mentioned earlier, 2.6 million children are being raised nationally by a grandparent or other relative. There is a huge community, if you will, of grand families and kinship families, and we're a part of that. And I want to do our very best to make sure that you get the information that you need to make your raising your grands as streamlined as possible. But 2.6 million children being raised by a relative or grandchildren, and 7.6 million is the number of children who live with a relative who is the head of the household. So, and grand families and kinship families are radically and ethnically diverse. We talk about the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is raising grandchildren is something that affects all of us, regardless of race, color, or creed. About 54% of children whose grandparents are responsible for them are white, 25% are Black or African American, 2.2% are American Indian or Alaska Native, 1.6% are Asian, and 0.4% are Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, 23.8% are Latino or Hispanic. So it affects every ethnic group everywhere in our country. So it's something we're all in together, and we want to make sure that you find out where the resources are that help you in your grand family situation prosper in this new situation. Because of the diversity of families, programs, and policies, everyone needs to be culturally sensitive, and written materials need to be in 2 or more languages because a multilingual staff may be essential. Because it affects everybody, maybe folks speak different languages and what have you. So one of the challenges about being raised in a grand family is that children in grand families and kinship families are more likely to be poor than children in other families. There are some challenges that we just don't think about. And it was enough of a challenge to think about getting your own children prepared for life, and whether that meant learning a trade or going to college or what have you, let alone now, as you are older, starting to address the situation of the grand family. So I love the fact that Generations United puts this information together, and I'm hoping that you will go visit their website. We're going to have the link at the bottom of the screen so you can get your copy of this phenomenal information. And did you know that most grandparent caregivers are still in the labor force? That's right. Most of us are still working. Our financial challenges just changed, so we maybe have to work a little longer. Nearly 56% of grandparents responsible for their grandchildren are in the labor force. And you know that grandparent caregivers are more likely than parents to have a disability. Nearly 25% of grandparents responsible for their grandchildren have a disability, compared to about 10% of parents that are under 18. And grandparents and their children they raise live together for a long time. And over 61% of grandparents responsible for their grandchildren have raised them for at least 3 years, and more than 45% have raised their grandchildren for 5 or more years. But the beauty of the grandparent kinship relationships is the stability that it offers the kids. And we have seen that in our situation with our dear Grace, and I'm hoping that you can testify to that in your situation. When our grandkids know that there is a stable parent or grandparent waiting for them at the bus stop or waiting for them at home, it makes a huge difference. And that's another reason why I like the work of Generations United, because they really do a terrific job of getting the information that we need to make the best decisions, and we're trying to make that available to you right now. So this is just a short little update today, but look for the information on our either at the bottom of our show today, or we will have the link on our Facebook group. It's a Grand Life, and it's called Fact Sheet: Grandparents and Kinship Families, Strengths and Challenges. And I'm sure it's going to be an absolute blessing for you. But again, we appreciate you. And please check out that website. They have all sorts of information on your grand family, on some of the resources you could get. There's some funding available, and you need to be aware of all that's available for you as you're in this grand family situation. But thank you so much for being with us again for another It's a Grand Life. Look forward to seeing you next week, but be sure to check out Generations United and their website to learn more of all the resources that are available for you in this journey of being part of a grand family. God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us for another It's a Grand Life. Remember to never waste your pain. God can use your situation to bless others even halfway around the world. Be sure and subscribe to It's a Grand Life on our Facebook page, as well as YouTube and any of the various podcast channels that feature the Grand Life podcast. When it comes to raising a grand family, remember the words of the Apostle Paul, who said in 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. In leading your grand family, it's going to take faith, hope, and a whole lot of love. Please reach out to me. I can be a blessing to you and pray for you, or help you connect to free resources that can make your journey a little easier.